the face of Johann Breyer, the 89-year-old man federal prosecutors today called one of the last surviving Nazi war criminals in the U.S.
He is charged with having been an armed guard at the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp.
Since 1952, Breyer has been living quietly in Philadelphia, working as a toolmaker until his retirement. He has a wife, children, grandchildren. Today, prosecutors moved to extradite him to Germany, where he faces 158 counts of aiding and abetting the mass murder of hundreds of thousands of Jews and others, working as a prison guard at Auschwitz.
We will go to that story in a moment. Let me just remind you before we begin that the president delivering a statement on Iraq was set for 12:30. We have now been told this is a live feed from the White House. It has been moved to 1:15 Eastern Time, so please stay with us. We will bring you the president's statement just as soon as he takes the podium. Now, for decades and generations, the phrase has been a simple one: never again. It is the search for those who were responsible for the deaths of over 6 million Jews in the European concentration camps during World War II. And today, another alleged criminal has been found. Let us welcome into MidPoint the Deputy National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, Ken Jacobson, joins us today. Ken, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be with you.
Ken, let us discuss this. This is an 89-year-old Philadelphia man. How long had this investigation, to your knowledge, been going on? And apparently, actually, as I understand it, they had a case against this gentleman dating back to the 1990s.
That's correct. And there were efforts by the U.S. to try to deport him because he has a mother who's American, and there were a lot of legal issues. That did not go through at the time. And what's different now is that the German prosecutors have begun to take this seriously. They realize as time is running out, with so many of those who were involved in the atrocities passing away, they're taking some of these things much more seriously, and they issued a warrant for his extradition yesterday, and that's what led to the arrest here in the United States.
Ken, there are many people who always watch these stories, and we look at the number of years that have gone by since 1945, 1944 even. And people always ask the question, how can you be sure, because doesn't evidence go away after so many years, and how can you be absolutely positive that you have the right person?
Yeah, well, in this case, first of all, those are legitimate questions, and sometimes they've even gotten it wrong. In this case, the individual, Breyer, admitted that he was a prisoner at a guard at the camp. He claims that he wasn't involved in atrocities, but that's, so there really isn't that issue in this particular case.
Let's talk about that. There are those who say that I was there, but I was not involved in the actual atrocities themselves. How much weight does that carry? I mean, when investigators look at it, because there are people who will say they may have just been there as a clerk. And again, I'm not making excuses for this. Don't misunderstand what I'm doing, because I firmly believe in going after these people with as much fervor as possible. But there are those people who will always say, what about those who simply were there and may not have been involved? You have to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, the answer is, in these cases, Auschwitz, the Germans have documented in a huge documentation surrounding this case all the evidence that, in fact, he was very involved in the process, which is known as the selection process, in which the Jews came off the trains and then they were selected which was to go directly for extermination, which not, and in the entire process, very, very involved. So I don't think there's even any questioning about that. I think the main issue that will be the lawyers for the individual will try to claim that he shouldn't be extradited again as an American. We're surely hoping that'll happen, because I think, and there's also an issue sometimes raised, he's an elderly man, but I think there are several points that are important to make here. First of all, justice does need to be served. Secondly, sometimes you see the face of an elderly man, you say, well, why are we doing this to an elderly man? Just try to think of the 216,000 individuals, men, women, and children, who are connected to his service there, who were murdered at Auschwitz. And so the suffering, and it's also the other question, which is, here's a person, and he's not alone, who were involved apparently in such atrocities, such inhumane actions, and they were able to live normal lives for decades. Meanwhile, while the families of those who perished suffer for their eternity. And so you just try to do your best. My question always is, why couldn't we have done more earlier to hunt down those who are involved in these criminals? And the last point I'd want to make is I think it also sends a very important message about genocides in the world today, or things which is that we take seriously what happens, whether it's in Bosnia or in Rwanda or any of these places, that we will be serious in going after those who commit such inhumane atrocities.
Is there a guess, and I know that this would just be a guess, because this is a gentleman who's 89 years of age, and many people from that era are dying off. There are not many left these days. But is there a thinking process how many still may be out there and still may be catchable, if you will, before Mother Nature takes its course?
Well, giving its due to the Office of Special Investigations, which is the office centered in our government to do that, they continue to look for individuals, and they do believe there are still some out there. Though the feeling is, it has already been commented surrounding this case, that it's possible this might be the last such case that we will succeed in doing in the States, because it always takes time once there's some information. But there are people still looking, both governmental and private, and the feeling is, as long as there are individuals around who participated in the murder of 6 million and others, we have the obligation to pursue them.
I got about 45 seconds left or so. Is the most important thing that comes out of this is for people out there to know that if you can hear my voice or your voice, if they see this happening, and if they took part in what happened at those camps, that you are being hunted at this moment.
For
we
sure.
are
And
looking for you.
We are looking, and the real point is this is really a matter of justice for everybody.
I can't even go much further than that, because I think that puts a perfect tie on it, because it's heartening for many people to see that there is still an effort to bring these people to justice after all these many years. Ken Jacobson, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today, and hopefully we will talk again, but under much better circumstances.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Better circumstances, not discussing what happened so many years ago. The story here, indeed, is that the German authorities have charged this man with complicity in the murder of over 216,000 European Jews from Hungary, Germany, Czechoslovakia, forcibly deported to the Auschwitz II Birkenau concentration camp, 158 trains between May and October of 1944. Many of them say that they didn't know. It has been proven many times in documents. It was common knowledge among the guards what was going to happen to the prisoners at these camps. It's time to take a breath. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about what is happening at college campuses today, and one specific college campus. A little something about tolerance, maybe a little free speech as well. This is MidPoint, where every day here on the Newsmax TV network, we question everything.